Well, I made it. I am in Montgomery, Alabama in November 2025, and I made it to the Legacy Museum, which is part of the National Memorial for Peace and Justice. I'm bracing myself for this experience. It's going to be a little trying. The museum is about a lot of things, most specifically about the legacy of slavery here in the United States, and uncovering some of the undocumented atrocities that mar our history here. I'll have more to say after the tour, but part of my intention of coming here has to do with curiosity and also just trying to get a more balanced view of our history. I also think it's important to visit places like this, as difficult emotionally as they may be, because it, at least in my experience, has enhanced my ability to, or enhanced my perspective, I should say, on the world. I went and visited the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. probably 10 years ago, and very difficult experience, but it was profound in the way it really opened my eyes to that horrible part of world history, and has allowed me to see history unfolding in current times, present times, seeing some of the same behaviors, same motivations, and catastrophic mistakes being made in our world the way they were made back then. I hope this experience today will add to my perspective and perhaps open my eyes to in a similar way to what's going on in the world today with respect to racism in our country, and a retelling of history that is limited, I suppose. At least that's the history that I believe I was taught. It had a fairly limited view of the racism and slavery that happened here in the U.S. Not to mention the repercussions of that have continued through today. So here we go. Bracing myself. We'll see how this goes. Whew. That was quite an experience. An outstanding museum. I got here at noon. It's almost 6. And I managed to just get through the Legacy Museum. I didn't even get to the other sites where they have monuments, and there's a boat trip as well. So I'm just gonna have to come back. That's all there is to it. Wow, yeah. Start to finish, it was really well done, really moving. You're faced at the beginning with a history of slavery, and just the sheer numbers are astounding. From 3/4 of enslaved people perishing just on the trip across the ocean from Africa. That's 2 million plus people just dying before they even had before they even had a chance to set foot on land again, and endure the horrors of slavery here in the U.S. Maybe they were lucky. I don't know. The treatment of the enslaved people, and the mentality that went behind that. Things like the looking at enslaved people as collateral for a bank loan. I mean, they're not like, they're just property, not even human. Just astounding, really devastating to think that one human can look at another human that way. I think for me that the thing that struck me the most was that growing up here, I learned about slavery a little bit from the first lawsuit about a freed slave who was thrown back into slavery and lost that case, all the way up through Brown versus Board of Education and the civil rights. I learned a lot of those things in school, but what I didn't really understand is the incredible economic advantage that enslaved people delivered to the United States. Like now, I think the U.S. is one of the strongest economic powerhouses in the world, and no one ever really thanks the ancestors of the enslaved people for putting us on that incredibly solid footing. I mean, you look at so many different things in our world. Cotton, that's always the thing that people think about when you hear about what enslaved people were being forced to do, pick cotton in the South. At one point, the United States was exporting 40% of their cotton to other countries and just making profit off of that. An incredibly huge sacrifice that was made by African Americans, and no one really acknowledges that. There's a huge part of the museum about the way people of color, namely African Americans, are treated in the justice system. Still incredibly harsh and unfair treatment. So the era of racism is not over. It still continues, and it still manifests in our society in so many different ways. There's a lot of work to do. And the museum, at the end of the museum, the visitor is encouraged to keep on fighting for equal justice, and let the sacrifice that so many people gave in their lives, in their work, unpaid work, in their giving of their lives during the Jim Crow era, where the terrorism that was inflicted on African Americans, especially in the South, those people gave their lives for something, and we've got to honor that and respect that, and use that to continue fighting for what they stood for, and to do what's right, to stand up for what's right, not to give up. It seems, in my personal view, oftentimes it seems so disheartening to see what I perceive to be steps backwards right now in our world. I sometimes ask myself, what's the use? We don't seem to be evolving as humans, but I go through an experience like I did today, and I have renewed faith coming out of this place, and I really hope more people consider doing stuff like this, consider going on an exploration of their own to try to figure out what it is that they can do, and even if it's just opening your eyes to the injustices that we still deal with, as well as acknowledging the really ugly past that we have in this country when it comes to the history of slavery. That's something, and not staying in the dark about it. That's really important. So I'm glad I did. It was a challenge, but it's one I wouldn't have missed for the world. So I encourage everyone else to make the visit out here to Montgomery, Alabama, and visit the legacy sites.